Karolina is a classical violinist, jazz singer, and cultural researcher drawing from many influences, including traditional music and poetry of different countries. Her explorations and projects are focused on questions of migration, identity, and cultural affiliations as experienced by ethnic minorities. Hi, it's really great to have you on Social Friendly Insights, and I hope you're doing well and you're keeping safe.
Yes, thank you so much. Hello, nice to meet you, and I'm happy to be here. Thanks for invitation.
Thank you so much. I want to start the discussion by understanding how has this pandemic changed the lives of musicians?
This is a very big question. I think that it also can be answered on many different levels because we all experience the situation on so many different in so many different ways. For sure, what we can experience is that many musicians lost their jobs. So for those who rely on the audience, for those who give concerts and this is their own source of incomes, I think that this is this group of artists who suffer the most from this situation. And I'm not sure how long it's going to take to change it. We don't know, and I think that one thing we can all agree is just we are facing uncertainty, and nobody can tell us, when it's going to stop. Nobody still found like just solution for what we are facing. So this is the state of like, okay, so should we do this or that? Should we be prepared for this or that? It's just like very strange for all of us. If I might speak for myself, my work as artist, it's not only related to giving concerts, but I also teach. So my teaching shifts to the online mode, and I still have students. I enjoy teaching. And this is something that I had to change, like I had to shift just from being with students one-to-one in the room where I could, kind of guide them in a way, just like I could just like physically be with them in one room. And now I just can see them through the screen. So that was at the beginning a little bit challenging for me, especially that I'm a voice teacher. But it just took some time, and I think it's just getting better.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Uncertainty has been brought up in a big way by this pandemic, and it has brought up many important questions that people all over are contemplating, especially artists and musicians, which brings me back to our next discussion topic is that we've seen that during this pandemic, people have sort of moved their eyes and interest onto artists and art. And then people have sort of come to this realization where they're saying that when everything stops, the only thing that matters is art, and we respect artists so much. We've seen numerous concerts on the balconies. We've seen videos from Italy, from Spain, even from India. But at the same time, like you said, gatherings are going to be small in the new world, and maybe we won't see as many concerts as before. So the situation is very ironical, and I wanted to know from you that what do you think that musicians should be doing to sort of combat this situation?
Yes, so this is also amazing question, and opens many different discussion. What I think that is interesting, what you mentioned is that artists they started to look for different forms of art. Of course, if it comes to giving concerts, one of these change is that they started to give concerts on balconies, and this is amazing. So they give some kind of hope from the balcony. I saw myself few live streams online, and I really enjoyed it. I think that what this situation, so maybe this is gonna be like some more optimistic side of this, if I may say so, if there is any optimistic side of it. But I think that what's interesting about this situation is that it opens artists also for meeting people from different parts of the world through many different circles that are formed, like by independent artists, independent art curators. And I myself participate in one of the circle, and it's about meeting, every week with people who represent different forms of different fields, artistic fields. So there are people from the theater field, let's say, from opera field. And this opens discussion about how we can embrace this uncertainty. So it's like more metaphysical level of looking at this, what is happening. How we as artists experience this situation, and what practices we can involve, or how we can extend our own practice to embrace the situation. What kind of artistic expression we can create or choose from what we are experiencing right now. So I think that this is something that I personally never have even time to do, or I've never been in this situation like the rest of us. And this is interesting how many things I discovered about myself as artist. So let's say that I never had time to think about creating music involving, let's say, arranging for string quartets. And now I started to think like, oh, maybe I could express something through the string quartet, composing for larger ensembles. So this is something definitely that this situation awoke in me.
Agreed. I absolutely agree with you. The entire contemplation process where you sort of discover yourself has definitely become really important, more so for artists. But I've been speaking to a lot of people, and everyone feels that as humans, it's time to sort of internalize and evolve. And you spoke about the independent artists, and which it brings me back to a very important question. And I want you to throw some light on what is and how can the scene, especially in India, can evolve for independent artists. You've been in India for a while now, and you've seen that the music scene is it's overshadowed by Hindi film industry. Independent artists, they do find their own niche and space, but at some point of time, the music sort of gets converged into the big umbrella that the film industry is. So what do you suggest that independent artists, especially here, should do to reach out to bigger audiences? Because definitely more opportunities have opened up now.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so basically, I think that the situation we are now at, like the pandemic, also just led us to discover new sources of reaching to the audience online, right? Because there are different platforms, and I think that new platforms are created right now. People are searching for new channels to reach to the audience. But specifically about independent artists, I think that this thing about independent artists and mainstream popular music is always, it happens all around the world. But of course, I know what you mean about India, and of course. We independent artists would love to know what to do to gather a larger audience. It's the main question for all of us. But I think that for me personally, what is important is that first of all, I would rather focus on being sure that my art is something that I really identify with, that I master that I spend a lot of time on preparing my projects, that it's something that express some kind of truth, that lays inside of me. And when this happens, then I'm trying to reach to some communities first. So I don't think about larger audience at the beginning. I think about communities that I can share my music with, that communities that can support it. And later on, when I know that this is something that I want to show to people, that this is something that I don't have any problems with kind of how to say, that's the very tricky part of it. Whenever we are 100% sure about what we are doing, it's just easier to sell, easier to go out there. And obviously later there's many different ways of streaming our art, using online resources, online tools. But I think for me personally, the most important thing is that first I'm just have this community that can, I can share my art with.
True, absolutely true. The fact that you say that, understanding your own art first, and then first of all reaching out to this community, it's very, I'd say that it's a very intimate process, and it helps an artist understand themselves, and then obviously reach out to the people who love to hear that kind of music. And but to sort of move on from individual to a larger scheme of things, I was reading somewhere that the entire global music industry is going to be a $65 billion industry by 2023. And right now, this pandemic, what it has done is that all over the world, be it tech or travel, everyone is sort of, like you say, contemplating, and they're rethinking about a lot of things, about how we were going on as people, as businesses, as companies, as organizations, as industries in general. So what do you think that the music industry in itself is, say there's a gap, or what should they reintroduce or sort of revamp for this new world that is emerging?
Most important thing, that debate about this it lasts now for a long time, is about, I think, regulate, that it's important to regulate the matter of paying musicians for their work online. And I think that that's something that we should use this time to have this very meaningful debate about how we musicians can sell our work, and how to create new platforms where actually the audience will pay for our work. So this is something that as I said, it's lasts for a long time right now, and I think that this debate is not solved, and this is really open questions for how we will handle now when everything shifted so drastically to the online mode, when people expose their art only through the internet, how we can actually financially be rewarded for what we are doing. I think that that's the question for people who for people who organize festivals, for people who are responsible for distribution our music, people actually that represent many different fields, that we all should gather together and have this meaningful debate. I think that that's what should happen.
It's really, really insightful. And I mean, Carolina, like you said, that you're a teacher. What do you suggest that upcoming artists who are, still trying to find their foot in this entire ocean that is the music scene? What do you suggest that they should do right now? Do you have some tips that they could do at home to improve their art? It can be an entire internal process. What do you suggest?
So the suggestion I have, even for myself, is just to keep creating and having your own routine. I think that what's important is that it's just really not denying what is happening. Like, first, to really understand that this situation is really uncertain, and we've never experienced something like that before, and it can be very overwhelming. I think that for many of us, and we should maybe use this time for just extending our own knowledge, in our own field, or maybe even just learn something new. In my case, it was, as I mentioned, I realized that, I never had time for learning how to really compose for string quartets. And I said, like, yeah, maybe this is what I should do with my free time right now. Other thing is that I've learned how to play, like I'm still, for a few days right now, I'm trying to play guitar. But if it comes to, like more deeper level of what is happening and what we can do, is that really answer ourselves what my art means to me. I think this is important question, which I don't think I had so much time to reflect on it. And now, when I have time to discuss what art is with many different people from different parts of the world, through Zoom meetings, through creating small communities online, it really changed my way of thinking in many different ways. So I guess, keeping routine and reflecting on what is happening, and extending your own practice. It's something which we can really benefit after everything is done, after the pandemic is over, whenever it's going to happen. We will be at least more, we will be more, we will gain something from this.
I'm sure all the artists that will be listening to this video and watching it, they'll definitely gain a lot from this insight. So, which brings me down to the last and the bigger question, and that is, what do you think is the future of music?
That's a really, really vast question. I think that music was always there from the beginning. Even like from the beginning, that the rhythm is always with us. And I think that artists, they always find a way to create new things. Maybe what future of music is, it's of course a question that I'm asking myself, but I believe that the music will be there. It will just maybe find new forms that we discover now during this very strange time. And yeah, I think that artists always find a way to bring music, and it will just be there. At some point, the pandemic will be over, and what we can do is just like keep going and creating, and just trying to add to what we are doing, something new. So
Lovely, lovely. Absolutely. I absolutely agree with you on that. Music was there since time immemorial, and it will be. I agree, and it should be. It saves us from a
Yes.
lot of problems around us. And we all know that you are a beautiful performer. And I mean, if it's not much of a trouble, we would love to hear something from you.
Yeah, so basically, I would love to perform something, and actually, I'm a
Thank you.
little bit excited right now because, as I said, I started to learn how to play guitar, and just to prove that I'm not giving up, and I'm trying to do something new in my field. I decided to actually play on the guitar for you today.
Wow, that's great. That's great.
Yeah, let's see how it's gonna sound. So basically, this is the guitar Lele I bought for myself, and I know only a few chords for now. But you see, this also opened me for like understanding that my music, because I always try to overcomplicate what I've been doing. Jazz can have many different forms and can be very overcomplicated. So I have experience of doing that. And out of the sudden, I realized that having this limited knowledge about instruments, so only few chords, you create a little bit more simple melodies, and it can actually open you more than having more tools. So other thing I'm exploring is the poetry of Oscar Wilde.
Wow.
So I decided to perform something I created a few days ago, and I'm going to repeat that. It's just like really my beginning, few days. But I decided to perform the poem of his, and it's called "In the Forest." Yeah, and then let's see how it's going to sound. Out of the midwoods twilight, into the meadows now, I've already turned round, I'd flashes my found. He skips through the copses singing, and his shadow dances along. I know not which I should follow, shadow or song. He skims through the copses singing, and his shadow dances along. I know not which I should follow, shadow or song, or song.
Wow, wow, that was absolutely beautiful. It was amazing. I forgot that we were doing this discussion. It felt like it felt like a whole experience in my head, and I loved it. You are absolutely amazing.
Thank you so much. I'm really happy that, after a few days, I have my first personal performance.
And I am so happy that I was able to experience it one on one, albeit virtually, but I'm really glad we did this.
Thank you so much for invitation. It was just lovely
Thank you
to.
so much. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure talking to you, listening to your insights, and I have myself learned a lot, and I'm sure our listeners will be absolutely happy to listen to your points and your advices.
Thank you so much. It's lovely to be here.